Hello, this is set 4 of the very exciting Lecaf Oz versus SKT1, and things have built up to this point in the last 3 games. We're going to be seeing Jaedong versus Fantasy in Game 4. I think I've gotten at least 10 messages telling me to do this game specifically, and this is going to be on Chupung-Ryeong. Jaedong, of course, needs almost no introduction. He is pretty much the best Zerg around nowadays, indisputably. There's some new challengers, but none of them are really that close to him. Fantasy, of course, is a OSL runner-up. Beat GG Play using some very creative Terran vs. Zerg strategies, and sort of gave birth to the Fantasy build, which is fast Vulture drops into Valkyries. Although I don't know if he'll feel safe doing it again because it is a very, very difficult and very tricky build to do, and it might be bad if your opponent expects it. It might just not work at all. But we'll see. I am expecting mech here. I'm gonna, start revising my predictions for Terran versus Zerg because it seems that most players have gone for mech, and Jaedong is one of the players who is well prepared for that. Recently beating Flash when Flash went mech, so it's gonna be just a great matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think Jaedong is probably going to expect it. We're probably going to see him scouting a lot to basically to check to see if it's happening or not. He's probably gonna, maybe even a drone scout depending on what's going on. Excuse me. Um, I don't know if we'll see mech. You're right. It's been like the big thing for Terrans lately to go mech against Zerg. Um, and I want to give some credit to Diggity actually, who he last year when Flash started going mech against Zerg sometimes he kind of thought there was a couple other Terrans that started going mech as well, and Diggity called it then. He's like, oh well, maybe I think that a lot of Terrans are going to start going mech against Zerg now, and he was a little ahead of the curve because it took this long for most of the other Terrans to kind of catch up. And Fantasy, I think, reminded everyone that it was a fun thing to do, and so they've been doing it a lot lately. So Diggity did call it just a little bit ahead of time. Anyway, this is, by the way, a must-win situation for Jaedong, as SKT1 is up 2 games to 1. So Jaedong, down 1 game to 2, has to win this game in order for his team to go to the ace match, to take it there. Whereas if Fantasy wins this game, he will actually take the entire match for his team, which, as we discussed in the other games, it's a pretty important match for both teams as far as standings in the Pro League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lecaf would love to seal this victory and be able to be, in direct contention with Samson Khan for #1. I think Lecaf's lineup is very strong. But SKT1's lineup is very strong. The one main weakness they have is the lack of a good Zerg, and the rules for this season's Pro League have really, really hurt them in that respect because you have to have a representative from each of the 3 races in the first 4 games, the first 4 scheduled games of any Pro League match. So they're forced to find at least one good Zerg, and they don't have a good Zerg. They have 3 or 4 terror bad Zergs, and that's pretty much why they're in 7th place or doing so poorly despite having some of the best players in the world. 2 or 3 of the top players in the world, arguably, with Bisu and Best especially. Anyway, we're seeing an early drone scout, like you predicted, from Jaedong. Jaedong definitely wants to know what Fantasy's up to. Fantasy, I'm not sure if he's put down his gas yet, so I might be wrong here. Fantasy, of all people, might be going for something standard, like a 1 into expansion. But he's got an SCV on his ramp, so that leads me to think that he might be going for something tricky. He's going to try to block the scout. Looks like he's doing a good job of blocking the drone from getting in. Nice work by Fantasy. So he could be doing this as a fake, though, if he doesn't get gas. Oh, man,
Oh,
Jaedong's not going to get up that ramp. No
oh,
way. No way.
it looked for a minute like he might, but yeah, Fantasy is really on top of that, and he's gonna stop that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, but it's that. Oh, the
Oh!
drone goes down. The drone goes
Boom.
down, and
Oh,
straight
and the
into a command
expansion.
center. That SCV runs right off the ramp and goes into a command center. So by blocking that scout, oh, never mind. Jaedong's gonna see it with his overlord. But by blocking that scout, he's gonna make Jaedong think that he's doing something tricky, um, or at least have to anticipate it, even if he doesn't think it's actually happening. So, but it looks like Jaedong's just going for a normal build. He's gone 12 hatch into a pool and getting another hatchery in his base now, and just now starting to get gas so he can tech up. So Jaedong doesn't appear to be behaving as if he's anticipating any kind of mech rush. He's going to have a couple of Marines just to come and harass his drones a little bit, but I think Jaedong kind of um, is on to the metagame here. He's not going for any kind of anti-mech build, and that's what, yeah, Fantasy's getting another barracks down, so he's definitely not doing anything tricky right now.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Surprising me certainly because Fantasy's famous for his mech builds, but looks like he's going to try Medic Marine here, standard fast expand game against Jaedong. And Jaedong is just incredibly strong against Medic Marines, incredibly good in the mid game portion of the game, especially with his Mulus harass, and quite good in the late game, although he has been shaken recently, shaken and stirred by none other than Firebat Hero, who beat him 2 times in a row. The first time with Battle Cruisers and Medic Marines, which was epic. Second time with a fast bunker rush. Now we're seeing, yeah, very standard build here from Fantasy. Gonna get his academy up. Probably gonna try to pressure Jaedong before Jaedong can get his Mutalisks out. Given that he went for that second Rax a little bit earlier, and you know this is gonna evolve into a pretty standard game. I think why Jaedong didn't expect anything too radical was because he saw that command center going down with that Overlord. I think it was just in vision, so he knew there was no chance of a real mech build or anything going on. SCV hidden in the very corner of his base for an engineering bay. Okay. Hidden engineering bay from Fantasy. But you know, if you're I guess if you like doing secret things, you'll just do secret everything, like secret supply depots in the corner of your base or something. I don't know. But he's got a secret engineering bay there in the corner.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe he wants it to be out of the way so Jaedong won't attack it with Mutalisks, or I don't know. Yeah, but I'm in the meantime, in between those two Firebat Hero losses, I also want to point out that C gave Jaedong a bit of a trouncing, and wow, actually Fantasy not moving out. I thought he was going to move out with that group of medics, but okay, with that group of Marines rather. He looks like he's going to wait for the medics, and they may still move out, or maybe he's just going to kind of dance around a little bit. That's cool too. Um, but yeah, Jaedong actually is sending a lot of lings towards his base, maybe going for some kind of a flank. He may be hoping that when Fantasy moves out, he's going to be able to get a surround on those medic marines and get a lot killed off. He probably won't destroy the entire force, but if he can kill off some of the marines, that's going to be all the better for when the mutalisks, excuse me, when the mutalisks come out. And now Fantasy trying to get some relatively early science vessels, taking up, getting his factory out there, trying to get
Yeah.
on that route already. But Spire's almost complete, so we're gonna have probably 9 Mulists popping out in a matter of a minute or so.
Yeah, that's a very early factory for this build, but it could be for early tanks, could be for a early science vessel, like you said. And
Oh,
Hydra is
you're
then
right.
also complete for Jaedong. So Jaedong could be going for a lurker option here. We'll have to see. Maybe just putting there so Fantasy, if he scans, has to anticipate both. But most likely here, well, it looks like we're actually might not see. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Jaedong is going for something like the Hiva build. I'm not gonna say it's Hiva just yet, but all right, the Hiva build was ridiculous. It was fake Mutalisks into fast Hive. Of course, he used a bunch of queens for ensnare, which I don't know if Jaedong will do, but he is not going for Mutalisks, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fake Spire, not a real Spire. He is in fact going
Interesting.
for a fast crackling, probably lurker crackling build. This is going to be really fun.
Yeah, he did hide that den as much as you can hide things as Zerg, I guess. But he hit it with. Oh, and that is a Queen's Nest. Oh, I thought it was another Evo chamber. You're right. Very
No,
quick hive going down
fast
here.
Hive.
Then he hid the den so as to make, if Fantasy scanned his main, he would just see, Lair and Spire and expect Mutalisks, and he looks like he's going to go straight for Lurkers instead, and then try and go to Hive Tech as well. So he could be going for almost kind of a Savior build here. Savior really likes to go straight for the Hive and get straight to Defilers, even if it costs him the mid game. But I don't think
But yeah,
Jaedong will be that
Saber,
careless.
that build sucks. That build's not a
Yeah,
build. It's just,
it
it's,
really
I'm
does.
sorry, that's Saber losing a lot. But I don't call things builds unless they have a chance of winning. Like, I don't know what Saber was doing. Like, Mutalisks,
Well,
two base Mutalisks into Fast Hive into losing. Losing
Jaedong did
right
a
when
lot of
Defilers
that
came out.
build. Jaedong did a lot of that build against For Gigi when For Gigi owned him in the what was that, the MSL?
Yeah.
So, it's not beyond Jaedong to go for a stupid build like Saviors, but he does have a significant amount of lurkers out, and he's placing him at some really strategic points around the map. Um, so it looks like he's going to try and just hold off and kind of contain almost Fantasy until he can get that hive tech up.
Definitely a non-standard game here. If Fantasy has used one of his scans recently, he is going to know it is not a standard game, obviously. Looks like Drone's going to build the mound there, Defiler's mound, of course. I think this is a good map, actually, for a Lurker first build here, or a Lurker only build. Because of these up and down hills, you really can get a good contain off with your lurkers, and really you can do lurker traps. You can do all sorts of different kind of things, and just stop the Terran from having mobility. And looks like we've seen +1 attack now for GG, but Jaedong's not going to be very far behind because of that relatively early evolution chamber, and the fact he's going to have crackling soon too, which are very, very good against small groups of Medic Marine. It looked like for a second in his base, well, it looks like Fantasy will go for an early science vessel, of course, and some tanks. I'm sure by now the ruse is completely over with, obviously. But the nice thing about that Spire is that it forces the Terran to go for a lot of turrets, which are ultimately useless if you don't build any Mutalisks.
Yeah,
And here we're seeing the first signs. So 4GG's has to be as vigilant. I'm sorry, Jaedong has to be as
Fantasy.
vigilant as ever, though, to take out the science vessels, because they're critical to Fantasy pushing in here.
Yeah, he said 4GG a couple times there. I think he meant Fantasy,
Oh,
but
sorry, Fantasy. Yeah, my
that's all
bad.
right. Um, yeah, the tanks are out now, along with the science vessels. I don't know why wasn't thinking of tanks before, but so it's gonna force Jaedong back a little bit, but he's gonna try and play a little bit of a game here. No, he's not gonna play much of a game actually. He's just gonna fall straight back to his main base. He's got a Defiler out. If he has Consume upgraded, then he's gonna be able to hold this off. But I don't know if he has that upgraded right now. Otherwise, he would have probably laid down a swarm already. And in the meantime, Jaedong sending a decent force around the side, try and go for a flank as well. Comsat going off. Fantasy knows exactly what's there. It looks like he's going to bring in his tanks and just try and go for a slow siege on this front door there. And wow, it looks like he was targeting that Defiler. Not quite able to pick it off, though. It's all just a race here. It's a race to see if he can get Consume in
Yeah.
time. But Jaedong going in for a
Oh,
flank.
it's there!
Oh, it's there! It's there going
It's
off
there!
on all those units. They can't run
Oh
away
my
from the
god!
cracklings. Lurkers coming in from behind and Lings as well.
Wow.
Everything's ensnared and can't shoot. Oh my god, look at those medics crawling over to
Oh
the
my
Marine.
goodness.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Wow. Wow. And the thing is, Rise and I did the commentary of Hiva fighting with this against Flash, using the same thing pretty much, except he built a lot more queens and he stayed a little bit longer before getting Defilers. But it looks like Jaedong has taken a page out of the relatively obscure and unknown Hiva's book, because Hebo was the first person who used queens that I've seen in the last God knows how many years of StarCraft. I mean, actually using ensnare. And oh my goodness, another
Oh
big ensnare
man.
on the Marines. And this is insanity. I mean, the queens are actually proving to be quite useful here. Oh, the Marines getting slaughtered. The ensnared Marines. And Fantasy, the master of non-orthodox builds, has now seen the Queens of Jaedong, and oh my god, wow. I mean, I thought when I watched Hiba's game that the Queen did have some uses, some applications, but I didn't think that they would ever be used by a standard player, or a top player like Jaedong. But Jaedong happy to use them and doing quite well with them, I think.
Now, for the record, I actually did say something about this about a year ago.
Oh, and the
Oh
vessel goes
wow,
down.
Scourge is coming and picking off the only science vessel in the area. The Defiler is irradiated, but gets down some nice swarms there. There are a minefield there though, and that's going to be difficult for Jaedong to move in with those lurkers. And oh, parasiting the science vessel,
Parasite.
beautiful. So he's going to be able to know where the vessels are and know when they're not protected by Marines. And he's going to, oh, watch out for those mines, watch out for the mines. Oh man, if those mines go off on that clump of lurkers, that could be really bad for Jaedong. But yeah, I've been saying this for a while actually. That with the Marines, in case for those who don't know, the Marines when they're ensnared, they can't move as quickly. And the key to Terran versus Zerg is you want to attack, and then when they go in with their swarm and their lurkers, you fall back away from the lurkers. And if they're too slow to fall back, then it doesn't work. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. And the ensnare is causing that to happen. Jaedong just pushing in with this one Defiler now, almost in Fantasy's front door. This is not looking good for Fantasy at
Oh,
all, but he is holding things off. Some mines going off as well. If he gets some tanks out or some more irradiate, he may be able to hold this off.
yeah. I mean, I think this mid-game queen move is actually not a bad move at all. I mean, God, I mean, you have to be really, really good with your micro, obviously. You have to just not waste that in snare. You need to get it while the Medic Marines are, trying to run away from your lurkers. And, if you can pull it off, though, it is quite spectacular, and I do think it's worth the money. Here we're seeing the lurkers. Jade, 4GG is forced to, no, Fantasy is forced to irradiate the lurkers, and he's gonna, need a lot more help now. Oh my goodness! Oh, we're gonna see a
Oh
infested command
no!
center here.
Oh no!
Oh no! Full on Queen action here,
Go
and oh,
Jaedong! Send
oh,
it
go
in! Send
Jaedong, go
it in!
get it, go! 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 Jaedong, not performance. Oh no!
Oh
Oh, it goes down.
no!
But it's alright. It doesn't make a difference. I think this is Jaedong's game at this point. Not much fantasy he can do. Although he's actually taken down an expansion. He might take down 2 expansions, so, maybe he'll do some damage here. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess if he could put Jaedong back down to 2 bases, then he might be able to stay in the game. I don't know if he's even going to be able to take this expansion down in the bottom right, though.
Yeah,
No,
no.
Ling's coming in from behind. Oh my god. Our Jaedong Gland upgrade Lings are just so powerful. I've said before they're my favorite attack unit. I said they were my favorite unit, and maybe it was even you that said, well, I thought speed shuttles were your favorite unit, so I had to clarify that the
Yeah, that
cracklings
was
are
me.
my favorite attack unit. Um, they're just so cheap, and they can do so much damage in so short amount of time. And here we go. Ensnare
Oh,
again
another
on those
ensnare.
Marines, going in. Doesn't even need a defiler. Lurkers going in, slaughtering the ensnared Marines. Actually, the Marines doing a decent amount more damage than I expected, but not able to take that position and hold it. And Fantasy is still
Oh.
reduced to 1 base. It looks like Jaedong's going to try and take the ramp, swarm on the ramp to protect the forces going up.
Oh,
And this
man.
is going to
It's
be
over.
GG any minute now. This is crazy.
Wow. Crazy game here from Jaedong. And notice the +2 carapace for Jaedong. That is a very, very early +2 carapace. I think it matches the Terran's attack, if not actually exceeding it. So that's helping the Lurkers a lot against the Mech Marine fire. And yeah, I mean, just looking at this, it's over for Fantasy. And certainly, he got defeated by a very nice play here from Jaedong. And, I thought for a sec he was just going to go Fast Hive, but I guess going Fast Hive comes with going for Queens also, which is insane. But, if Valkyries can be used, then Queens can be used. That's why I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Oh,
Oh
Scourge!
man. Fantasy should have used some Valkyries to hold off the queens. That would have been appropriate. Oh no! Fantasy trying to sneak off a dropship. Oh, it might actually maybe up. Is it gonna? Oh, oh, he's not dropping
No.
forces out. It goes down. Fantasy GG's. His main in tatters. Jaedong out out creativing the creative Fantasy.
Yeah, pretty much. Jaedong takes a build that an obscure Zerg player almost managed to make work against Flash, and he corrects it and shows how it's done. So do
How
check
it's
out Flash
done.
vs. Hiva to see the originator, I guess, of the build. But anyway, stay tuned.